from me. I guess when you're in a tough stretch, like you guys are going through right now, what is the key from a coach's perspective to keeping your guys, believing and engaged all the way through the end and being able to really make a difference in the final 7-8 games of the regular season?
Well, there's a few things with this team. Number one, realize it's a season and not a career. And realizing that we're working to get better, we're working to understand how to close games. Number two, we can look at tape and see mistakes again and again and again, and we try to correct them as best as we can, but a lot of them are sitting around experience and just making plays to be able to close out the game at a key stretch in time in the game that we go through. Sometimes it rears its head at the 10-minute mark to go, sometimes it rears its head at the 4-minute mark to go, but it hits us late in those games, and they see that. So this team is not a bad team. It's not like they're not talented. When you shoot the ball as well as we shoot it, I think it's very encouraging for them that they know they can stay in these games, and they're in the games to have an opportunity to win them if they can just figure that piece out. So as we go down the stretch, the important thing is for us to understand how to do that and realize there's games still there we can win as we head towards Pac-12 tournament play. And the key thing also is to figure that out this year, because this entire team comes back next year with the exception of Roderick Bernstein, and we don't necessarily look in terms of what's coming next year, but really we talk about closing it out, figuring out how to close out things this year.
When you say you look at the tape and see mistakes again and again, is it the same mistakes happening, or are they different things and sort of nuanced things that come up?
I would call them different things by different guys. In terms of you fix one thing, something else rears its head, you fix it again, but they all center around that possession by possession grind that you go through over a 40-minute game, that if you can make 90% of the things be in the right place at the right time, we're going to win a lot of games. We're about 75 to 80%, and that slippage is killing us right now. And that last 15% is the hardest part to get, because that's the experience piece that your juniors and your seniors, they've been in enough battles, they've been in the arenas, they've been in the conference, and they make those plays. They grind through the game, particularly games that are coming down to the wire. And this is a tough conference. You get a lot of those games. We don't do that. We tend to break down at crunch time of a stretch of a game coming down the stretch right now. And it may not be this player, it might be this player, but it's the same stuff that we're breaking down on. A turnover here, turnover there, a misread here, misblock out here, things like that. Has nothing to do with our talent. It really doesn't. It has to do with us. It's I call it our mental toughness. And because that mental toughness to know your job and do your job on every single possession, or 90%, no one can be 100%. But we need to be somewhere between 80 to 90% in this conference, and we're just not there. And that slippage is killing us right now. Not our talent, not our ability to shoot it, run, pass it. It's our mental.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Ernie.
You bet.
Good luck against Jordan State.
Thank you.
Yeah, questions from the Pac-12 Network.
Hey, Ernie, how are you? Yes, I'm on. Ernie, how are you, bud?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Have your game on Thursday. And first of all, how's Milan? And secondly, how do you feel about the way that he and Malachi have handled the ball this year?
Milan is, I would say his body's a little bit sore at this time of year for a guy who didn't play last year. He's just going through that. He's going to have to play through it. And your second question to that, I think they've been pretty good, but at the same time, that is the toughest position to play on the floor. And when you look at the guard leadership at Arizona State, at UCLA, when you look at the guard leadership at Oregon, at Arizona, those are all veteran, experienced point guards on those teams. UW, they just got guys who have been through the fires. So I think there's growth that still needs to happen at that position. And I equate it to where I was with Aaron Brooks early on in his career, where it took him some time, but once he figured it out, he was pretty doggone good. Well, in Malachi's case, he was a point guard on the floor with 4 really good seniors last year. and all he had to do is get them the ball, basically. Well, now he's got to not only get people the ball, but he has to score as well, too. That's a big adjustment for him that he's going through right now. And the more he plays, the more we get through it, the better he's going to be at it. But at times this year, we've struggled a little bit in that area, that position, I should say.
You've had some pretty good point guards in your system over the years. Cameron Sufi, Darius Wright, Ridnour. You mentioned Aaron Brooks. Do you feel like Malachi is trending toward where those guys were?
Boy, it's always nice to talk to a media guy that's done his homework. He knows my point guards. You probably know my point guards even way back at Colorado State when I was an assistant coach. I would say yes, he is, because I equate all of them. If I looked at all of them at this point in time, with the exception of Luke Ridnour, all of them had to go through this period of understanding the position at this level, of transforming from a guy that was the man in high school and dominated the ball to a guy that has to learn how to give up the ball. That's a big adjustment for a really good point guard. It was tough for all the ones that I've coached that you mentioned. Cameron Sufi was your prototype point guard that was pass first, run a team, shot second. Ridnour really struggled with getting the ball out of his hands. Once he learned how to do that, he just blossomed. Aaron Brooks was pretty good at it coming in the door. He just needed to mature. And Darius Wright was just an exceptional leader. And the thing that Rid and Brooks and Wright and Sufi does that Malachi needs to learn how to do, their ability to have the verbal skills to be so vocal in practice and lead a team was phenomenal. And when they crossed that court on practice every day, they were the best players by far every day. Not just 2 days out of the week, every day of their career. I don't remember a day they weren't the best players on that floor in practice every day. That was the competitive nature, the thing that drove those teams. That's one of the areas we're trying to get to. And understanding that just takes time. But he can get there.
Okay, Ernie. Hey, thanks a lot. Looking forward to Thursday.
You bet.
Okay, that's all we have time for. Coach Kent, I appreciate your time, and best of luck this week.
Thank you. Those are two good questions.
You've said earlier this season it's not hard for you to be patient and wait on this team. Do you think it can be harder for a player and they're not winning to be patient and wait for this experience piece to kind of grow? And
My experience with young people in this day and age, your generation, they have an ability to bounce back and put things out of their mind a lot quicker than us crusty old coaches, because we carry them with us. I don't sleep. You tinker with it, you look at tape, more tape. And what I've seen with young people, they just move on, and they just move on again. And some of that is good because you have an ability to get over stuff quickly and keep moving. Some of it is bad because you don't take accountability enough for it to really want to change. And changes is not going to happen. As a player, when I played, you would take a loss. You wouldn't go to the supermarket. You certainly wouldn't go to a frat party. You didn't go anywhere but to class and back to your dorm room and to practice because you couldn't wait to play again to redeem yourself. That's not anymore. Now it's okay. No, it's not okay. And that's one of the areas as a coach that I'm trying to change the culture and the mentality here, that losing is not acceptable. Mediocrity is certainly not acceptable because I'm not mediocre at anything I do, and I don't expect them to be that way. That's a hard change for young people that are used to being hugged and loved and patted on the back, even though they're not winners and extremely successful at what they do. That's the biggest thing we're trying to change here right now. That comes with time, that comes with recruiting, and bringing in that right mentality that thinks like you do. And once we get it there, this program will blossom.
Yeah, like Tress Tinkle, coach's son, a big guard, a guy that's physical. How's this challenge going to be with you guys this weekend going up against a player like him?
You know, the biggest thing with Tress is the fact that he understands how to play. Very heady, very smart, and knows how to score. So we have players like that in our program as well, too. It's not just him. When you look at what we need to do to Oregon State, we need to make sure we neutralize 3 or 4 players on that floor as well, too. If we just focus on him, Eubanks gets away from you. So you got to be careful just focusing on one guy.
Speaking of Eubanks, big center, physical guy. Drick's been kind of not fully 100%. How do you expect the front line to attack?
That rain in Oregon has an amazing way of healing you. So I'm hoping he gets up there and feels some of that rainwater and drinks that good Oregon water, and he'll come ready to play. But he'll be better. Drix was a little banged up, but he gets a little bit better each week, so we'll be okay with it.
See a little more Devontae this week, maybe with that with Eubanks and after playing against Arizona and kind of thrown into the fire there a little bit.
Yes, and we with Big George on their bench too, and he comes on the floor, we'll definitely see Devontae. But I like the way Coop played against Arizona. I thought Arenze did some good things against Arizona as well too, and I'm starting to trust and move that bench a little bit more, because I think, again, when you're going through what we're going through now, sometimes it's really good to have some new energy out there and let some other guys get an opportunity to step up and play, because there's a lot of games left for this team and time left for this team. We need to get moving though. There is an urgency to it, and sometimes switching the lineup, playing different personnel might be the thing that tweaks it as well too. I have to keep in mind again with this team, they figured this thing out really early. It almost became kind of fool's gold when we blitzed through Anaheim and played so well, thinking it was gonna be easy. And all of a sudden, you became the hunted in the preseason, and then you hit the conference, which is just grueling. It's been a wake-up call, which has taken some confidence away and knocked us out of whack, obviously big time. Well, to get that back again, you have to stay positive, keep coaching, keep teaching, keep big picture in mind, and keep tinkering a little bit, giving guys the opportunity to play, to maybe get back on track here. And we're not that far off either, as I look at tape and see the little things that we constantly need to clean up.
Is this Oregon trip just another trip for you now, or are there still emotions when you go back, especially to Eugene, and then you see the arena, the people, and people that you worked with and knew?
I think I spent almost half of my adult life in Oregon, and from the perspective of going to school, living there, leaving, coming back, working there, living there again, that's a lot of time. And my kids are all in Oregon, my granddaughter's in Oregon. Anytime you have those kind of connections there, I don't care what city it is, there's going to be some emotion there when you go back there, because it brings back so many great memories, and you have such a connection to a community. So it's never just another trip. Anytime I go to Portland, whether it's for recruiting, going through the Portland airport, or actually coming into Portland and seeing my kids, it's never just another trip. It never even feels like that. So certainly this is no different. Heading back into that environment and everything, it's always emotional for me going back there.
Anything else?
Are you happy with how they responded after the Arizona game in Arizona State, especially Malachi?
You know, and again, I've made a comment about young people and how they're so resilient, but at the same time, their ability to bounce back in a season that has kind of got knocked off whack. And I don't look at social media and all that. I can just imagine what those guys are hearing and going through, and yet to come back and play that well, it tells you one thing about this team. When we put them together, we knew we had, and that's character. They have tremendous character. They're young, they're inexperienced. We lack some leadership, but our character is good. And whenever you have character, you have an ability to grow them and bring them back, because they continue to come together and continue to come and compete and everything. So I would expect that to continue to be the case. And I also feel like if they do turn that corner, they could take off, because they've been there before and they know what that feels like. So that's what we keep striving to push them back towards. We still have time to do this. You have the talent and character to do this. We just need to continue to gain the experience to do it.
One more thing. When you guys did watch film of 18 turnovers, 34 points off those turnovers, what maybe was the mood like with the players? Were they dissatisfied, frustrated? I mean, what was that film session like?
We've gotten to the point when we don't let the players look at a lot of film, because again, that can be very, when you talk about going through the losses, you talk about academics, you talk about practice, you talk about rehab, and in there with your trainer, and then let's sit in a dark room and turn the lights off and let you see all the negative stuff on the screen. that's not a very good way to coach all the time. Sometimes you need to pull out the positive things and let them take a look at that. They know they turn the ball over too much. I don't need to tell them. Malachi knows he turned it over too much. I don't need to show them that on tape. I can talk to them about cleaning up a few things. We're more into how do we get better more so than what we did back here. They know where they need to improve at. The key thing is that sustainability over a 40-minute game, again, to have the mental toughness to do it again and again and again the right way. Come back again, and I call it know your job, do your job every single possession. If I can get 5 of them to be on the same page, we are really, really good. If 1 or 2 of them are out of whack, we are going to struggle. And that's the experience piece that I keep coming back to, that they've got to understand. But it's very difficult. You're going down to Eugene and Corvallis, and with the exception of Malachi, Robo, and Viante, you got 10 guys that have never played in Corvallis in that environment, or never played in the Matthew Knight Arena in that environment. That is going to shock their system for a while. And they're going to have to somehow, during the course of the game, conquer that environment and do that. Well, I can't simulate that here. You can't do anything. You got to put them in it, let them deal with it, let them go through it, figure it out, and get moving again. And hopefully somewhere in there, be at a competitive enough level that you can win a game or close out a game.